Hello, everyone, and welcome in. My name is Bryce Kuhn. College football playoff reaction here tonight. Is the sky falling? Is the whole thing rigged? We're going to talk about it tonight. Full hour-length episode here in the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Kuhn.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Bryce Kuhn, Ralph Leary, Will Manis, as we get ready to talk about something that we talked about for almost an hour and a half. Austin Biley says, come here, let's get upset. Yes, let's do it. There's going to be some differing opinions. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can already think that I'm in the minority of not only the panel that we have here tonight, but also the viewing audience, and that's okay. We're going to have a lot of fun, though. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, if you're also watching wherever you might be, whether that's Facebook or listening after the fact, we appreciate you doing that. Hit subscribe, follow the page, wherever you're doing those different things. Before we get started, TD Jake dropped the dono leak, won the bet. I bet, or we had a bet in the Discord group, which has just been eventful over the past 48 hours. That if Georgia didn't make the playoff, TD Jake would donate $100 to the Crowded Booth. So he has done that. Like, comment, subscribe, says Dr. Bob.
Yeah, poor TD Jake. I mean, that's the only time that will ever happen. That the number one team in penultimate rankings doesn't make the playoff.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. We'll get the link down here.
I know I am. I got that stat from ESPN.
I mean, you are,
the owner of the playoff.
I'm throwing this link right there for people. I don't know if it works. I don't know how these things work. Yeah, we're about to rock and roll. We're going to have a fun show. I can't wait to talk about this. Guys, college football rankings are out. We argued, we debated, we had great conversation for about an hour and a half. Great content last night. We meet again here on Sunday night, right after what has been one of the more shocking reveals. Probably, can we sit here and say the most shocking reveal that we've seen in the 10 years of this college football playoff? We all cool with that?
Yes, that's the only one I think.
The other one might be the Ohio State getting in over TCU, Baylor. Yeah, I mean, but Ohio State validated.
No, the one that Ohio State got in. I've been 2017, wasn't it? No, I've been Bama got in.
I think it was 15. I have no clue.
15's the year they got left out for being the Big Ten champion for a 2-loss. I think that's right.
That was Penn State. It was a 2-loss Big Ten champ that was left out.
Might have been.
No, Ohio State made 15. No, they finished the final ranking. Sorry.
Well, Ohio State won the whole thing in 15, which is a whole different type of conversation that we could sit here and have today.
I'm talking about 2016 then. Sorry. Apologies.
2016. I got you. All right, let's talk about this. All right, so where do we want to start with this conversation? Because one, I don't want it to get so off the rails that we're just pinging back and forth. So let's try to take this step by step and just kind of, roll with what we have going on here. We'll start with you.
Oh, I got you. We'll start right here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, it's such a broad. Okay, we're all cool with 1 and 2. Michigan, Washington earned the right to be number 1, number 2. You get to 3. Now, I will say this. I'll kick this off here. Once Texas was number 3, that did 2 things. It hurt Florida State, and it gave the advantage to Bama. If they were going to rank Texas 3rd, then it helped Bama because that looks like a really, really good loss. That for me was kind of a red flag when that first one came out, the 20, 30 seconds before they went there. Let's start here, Will. Kind of your overarching thoughts of that top 4. We're going to get into bowl games and whatever. Georgia drops down 5 spots after a 3-point loss, which is crazy as well. It's more, it's more a product of the situation, though. I don't think you would see that normally. And like you said, you really wouldn't probably see that. You haven't seen that, I don't think, in 10 years. So your thoughts on this top 4?
Yeah, like I said before, Georgia's the first ever number one in the heading into conference championship week to lose their conference title game and drop all the way out of the top four. That had never happened before. Alabama and Texas, also the first two teams to jump from sixth or lower and jump into the top four. That had never happened before. So unprecedented from this committee. You know, obviously the committee changes every year, but their bylaws, their guidance, whatever you want to call it, is supposed to be consistent. Look, I think the bottom line here is the committee can do whatever they want to do. You know, they've the power is invested in the committee to do what they want to do, and they did that. And you know, Bryce, like you said, when Texas was there at 3, that pretty much sealed it that Florida State would not make it. Although I did say moments before, I don't know if I said it to you two or another group I was in, that the committee has a chance to do the funniest thing ever and leave Alabama and Georgia out. That would have been great. But you know, I would you know. They would have to answer to that, but I mean, I don't think they answered any questions today after they released their top 4. You know, it's very sad for Florida State, and I think sad overall for the game that you know, I think the big thing that this does is it kind of negates the importance of a conference championship and as a whole the regular season because you have Florida State, an undefeated conference champion, missing out. Look, I get it. Jordan Travis out. They're a totally different team. But they played 3 games without Jordan Travis and they won them all. And, you know, they showed how good of a complete team they are, how complete they are on both sides of the ball and found ways to win. And that's what the great teams do. And, you know, Florida State, they didn't put up a lot of points the last couple of weeks without Jordan Travis, but they still showed they were a great team. You know, we can go back and forth on most deserving or top 4, whatever. That's never been made clear, and it was not made clear today. But you know, college football in its history has been a regular season sport, and I think that this 2023 playoff, the final year of the top 4, kind of took a giant crap on the regular season.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely moving, especially with the expansion of the playoff, like we've talked before. It's moving to this is going to be postseason centered. How many eyes can I get on the biggest products, the biggest, I'll use this word inventory that, you know, media networks have to be able to use. This is something where, look, I put out you know, my thoughts on this. First off, I've got to start doing that on Facebook more. Whole different clientele that was responding. Ralph and I at one point were talking about unicorns and mythical championships. It was absolutely fantastic. You mentioned, let's start with the pain for Florida State. Look, I sat here last night and I said, I don't know if there is a right decision to be made here because Florida State deserved to be there. They did what was asked of them. Well, you're exactly right. Great teams find ways to do that. The problem with all of this is that I think also, in a sense, you could have made an argument, especially when they put Texas at number 3. This helps that argument. That the conversation, I think, into the wee hours of the night and into the morning here on Sunday really became Alabama versus Florida State. It kind of felt like Texas was like, okay, you're in. So if Texas was going to be in, that helped Alabama's case because it was a really, really good loss. Alabama also, and look, I think a lot of what the frustration with Alabama getting in is a hatred for Alabama. And I understand that. I think that Alabama can make a case.
Hand up right here.
Hand up. Like, we acknowledge that. Like, Will can't stand Alabama. Did Alabama do what you were supposed to do after suffering a loss to have an opportunity to get in there? Yeah, they did.
Absolutely.
They did. So I think that is the problem. That's the problem with this, is that you had 2 teams that you could make a valid argument deserved and were better teams to be in there. And like you said, Will, they didn't. I think it's an easier explanation of what they did today than if they would have flipped it. If they would have flipped it, what was going to happen? Look, Florida State's great, and people try to tell me you can't predict everything. Team playoff, and Miami of Ohio play Alabama. That would be a waste of everyone's time. This is also the same person that wanted to, you know, play in the same realm as Candyland, Chutes and Ladders, and, you know, everything as well.
Unicorns.
Riding unicorns. Paul Bunyan and his axe. You get what I'm picking up here. That being said, we have now seen the playoffs show the hand of it's easier to explain this than it is to explain it the other way. And I'll even say this too. Like, I think they, in the terms of, and I tweeted this, and so many people get mad because a lot of people don't read what you put. They just like to react and fire off, responses to this. In terms of the best 4 teams, it is of my opinion, which is a subjective opinion, they got the best 4 teams. I think if Florida State would have gone even with Tate Rodemaker, they were probably going to lose to Michigan. And Alabama may very well lose to Michigan. But what does it do, Will? You talked about this yesterday. It sets up a better 4TV matchup. That's what it does. And so in the terms and the scope of the 4 best teams, that's where my subjective opinion is, that those are the 4 best teams. People tried to argue. I had one person comment, on one of the posts said, well, what about Georgia? Georgia's better than Washington. There's nothing to prove that. And Washington and Michigan were going to be untouchable. Once they won, they're untouchable. Like that was going to be it for them. So, Ralph, your thoughts on this, as I kind of, went a little long there, but your thoughts on, the rankings we have here below us.
Personally, I know a good bit of Florida State fans from Columbus. I know they're in pain tonight. Shout out to Caleb Northworthy. I know he's in a lot of pain right now.
You sound like Deron Moore right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're going to cry. I don't know what's happening.
It's a shame that you did everything you had to do and could do to be undefeated, to be a conference champion, to win out without having your starting quarterback, and then having to use your 3rd string quarterback in the championship game because your backup was hurt, and not get in because the best 4 teams are the ones they chose. It's unfortunate, but you did everything you're supposed to do, and you get screwed out of it. Which is, it is what it is. You can't fault saying that Bama would, or Florida State would beat Bama on a neutral site with the team they have right now. Yeah. You don't know that, but more people will probably lean toward Bama because they're fully healthy. Florida State's banged up, lost a quarterback. I think if Tate Rodemaker plays last night and they win by three touchdowns, they're in. Honestly, because they're a better team with Rodemaker at quarterback. They're a better team with Jordan Travis at quarterback. If Jordan Travis plays, it's a no lock there in for and Bama.
Well, so this is the thing. It's a subjective opinion. They say that Florida State is like that's what I'm saying. Like I could be wrong. Like these 2 teams could play, let's just say in 2 weeks, and next year they'll get the chance to do this, have a quarterfinal game like this type of same scenario. That's the problem, and we're going to get to more into this, but it's a subjective opinion to say what I said and also what you're saying, that Florida State is better than Alabama. I just think it's easier to explain on the committee's behalf, who, like Will said, doesn't explain anything well. Like we watched a couple of the clips last night live on the show, doesn't explain anything well. It's easier to say they don't have their quarterback, and I will also read you this. The notable selection criteria, bullet point number 4. And this is what opened the door. Other relevant factors, such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. Once that bullet point was up there, the writing was really on the wall there for Florida State. That opened both double doors to say, let's put Alabama in. Keep going, Will. Or Ralph, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, look, it's before last night, honestly, did any of you know that was a bullet point?
Yes. It's been a bullet point for a decade. I think that's been there since the start of the playoffs.
I'm sure it has.
But it's been one that has not been probably utilized as much because it's such a unique situation. That's
what I'm trying to say. It was never really utilized. It was never really put out there because it's never been used. So it was been overlooked for the last 10 years. So for this year, it
was mentioned 2 years ago with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame before, like the week of, like a day, whenever he left to go to LSU, it was mentioned like, oh, well, that might keep Notre Dame out of the playoff because he's gone.
True. I want to clarify this real quick because we're going to try to get to some of the comments here. Kevin Rainwater says, but the injury didn't affect performance. No, and you're right. They won the games. It's not. I'm saying they're not making the decision based off of what they did. We talked about that. It's a travesty. Like it is. It's not good. They're making the decision based off of what's probably going to happen and what they're projecting to happen. Is that unfair? Is it Florida State getting screwed? 110%. It is. Somebody was going to get screwed from either vantage point of the situation. And what has happened is the committee made the easier decision, and college football fans and or your neighbor that just suddenly became a college football fan today has sat there and said, "Oh, I hate Alabama so much. That's why we're going to be so mad about this." But if you really peel back the layers of this, you can kind of understand why they went with Alabama based on what they had done too. So I agree with you. The injury didn't affect performance. Will said that. They did a great job. They were able to overcome. That's what elite football teams do, elite programs do. The problem with this is they're not talking about the past, and they're not talking about the whole body of work.
Yep, exactly. And that's it's just so unfortunate for Florida State because they control what they could control, and the reason they're not in the playoff is something that was out of their control. You can't predict an injury, especially one that bad. I did see it in the comments earlier. That to me that kind of tells me Jordan Travis should be your Heisman Trophy winner, because if the 13 people that have control of who plays for the national championship think Florida State is no longer national, at that level, no longer one of the 4 best teams, then he should be the Heisman Trophy winner. They claimed he was the most important player in the country.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I mean, that's one of the criteria for the Heisman. It's best player in the country, the most important to your team. And I've sat on this show and argued, obviously, that Jaden Daniels has been so important to LSU's team. If it's valued that much, I'll even raise you this. If he's valued that much, why did they just sit at 5? Like, why are they not below Georgia? Why are they not? Like, if that is something that we sit here and say, well, they don't have Jordan Travis, so now we're going to knock it against them. They should be like the number 8 or 9th ranked team in the country. By that logic. By that logic. I want to get to this comment right here. John Burns, very interesting choice word there to start off the comment. The eye test wins and loses is what it about, and then head-to-head competition. And Alabama nor Georgia passed that basic test. Not sure what the question is within that comment, or
I think
of course, the eye test wins and loses. Well, bottom line, John, you tell us, why do you think Alabama nor Georgia passed the basic test? Cool with Georgia. Georgia had the chance to prove it on the field last night, didn't do it. Bottom line, they didn't do the job done.
There's a couple comments that we heard from the committee today. I don't know if Bryce, I know you didn't sit there and watch that 4-hour-long show.
I didn't even know it was going to be that long, to be honest with you. It's
a joke. A lot of these I saw people posting them on Twitter because they were ridiculous. Number one, there was a lot of talk of one thing that I was glad that I didn't hear was for Alabama's case. Well, they beat a Georgia team that's won 29 games in a row. That doesn't matter. What happened in 2021 and 2022
it shouldn't matter. It should
not matter.
But I will say this, it kind of does. Like, it shouldn't matter, but people aren't able to erase what happened. Yes. You're right. Like, it should be.
It should not.
It matter. Should be a revolving door. Like, each and every single year, you should not be paying attention to that.
Changes every year. And then probably the worst comment, in my opinion, coming from Boo Corrigan. The chair, is that his title? The chair, the head of the committee. I think he's
chairman.
Chairman,
who knows?
Whatever his committee is, because there's 13 of them. Asked a question about, their evaluation process, how they go through that. And, there's a couple of ex-coaches on that committee, and they said the question was posed, who would you not want to play? Which I think is a very, very poor way to pick the 4 best teams. And that, to me, that's why Alabama got in, because the team, the coaches on that committee said we would rather play Florida State than Alabama. And that's how they chose Alabama being number 4, which, it's so difficult because they say they're out to pick the 4 best teams and they don't define how they do that, whether it's subjective or if they look at numbers or what it is. They don't pick which one. So that's what makes it difficult. And that's what causes all this debate.
Yeah. The lack of clarification, like you just mentioned, is something that is just, it's been poor, and it's led to all of this. I see a comment here from Chandler. He goes, Alabama beat South Florida 17-3.
Yes.
I see a lot of people talking about this, different types of conversations with like who won and who lost. And it just kind of all comes back to the same thing. They're not looking at the full body of work. Like, that's not what they're looking at. And 2, I saw, and, for a lot of people don't think he has necessarily a really good point all the time, but Jonesy, really big fan of the show, member. Make sure you join to be a member of the show. He goes, any fan of any school in FSU position would be pissed, but they got it right. That's also something we have to understand. If you were a fan of Alabama, you're not mad. And if you're a fan of Florida State, you are really mad. And the problem is that Alabama is one of the more hated brands in all of sports. And so a lot of people are ganging up and saying comments like, well, they lost 17-3 or they beat South Florida 17-3. Yeah. I would argue, like, if I was on the committee, you have to allow teams. You can't just that's why you don't make the playoff rankings in week 4. Like, teams evolve and teams get better. And that's why I sat there and said last night, if Alabama gets in, a lot of people are going to be mad. What you're not going to be able to say is there's not a valid argument. There is a valid argument for why Alabama got in. And look, they took care of business in how they needed to do it. In the committee's eyes. Like, if you lose a game and you win and you win out and you win the SEC championship, and we can sit here and talk about this, people got mad because I mentioned the Big Two, the Power Two conference. Folks, that's what they care about. Like, they are going to value, and I have told Tech fans this so many times, they are going to value the SEC and Big Ten over the ACC, and they showed it here. They did. That's what they just showed you. They do not care. That is why your games are on the CW, because they don't care. They don't. And I'm telling you, if I'm Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, schools that are going to have the earliest opportunity, I'm not talking about tomorrow, the schools that have the most financial advantageous opportunity to get out of the ACC, I'm finding a way to do it, because they just showed you can literally go perfect in your conference, have something happen that you can't control, and we're gonna keep you out. That's what they just showed you. Go ahead.
What really grinds me about that argument, because I think they did say that about Alabama. They took care of business. Yeah, you beat a 6-6 Auburn team by 3. You beat a 3-9, 4-8 Arkansas team by 3 at home. But they took care of business. So did Florida State, and Florida State had to overcome more, which, I mean, it's a moot point now, but
yeah,
Florida State had to overcome more than Alabama did, which, you know, I think shows that they were a better team. Sure, they didn't play well against Florida on the road. Neither did Alabama. Didn't play well at Auburn. But, I mean, Florida State looked really good in every other game.
I mean, teams struggle. Like, that's the thing. Like, Florida State struggled against Boston College, and people were ready to write them off. And I sat there and we talked about, you can't just – this is the problem. You have so many people just looking at a box score and just looking at a weekly scoreboard, and they don't watch the games. And they're not watching the games.
And they don't know the build-up to games. They don't know what games mean for each team. Like that Boston College game, red bandana game. That's the most emotional game Boston College plays every year. They're up for it every year. You talk about anybody in the SEC West playing Alabama, they're playing up for that game. So everybody, they just look at box scores.
That Boston College game was also the most points Florida State allowed all year long, was 29.
Yeah,
all year long.
I don't know, man. It's kind of, it's just, it is what it is.
If we're also going to talk about that they lost their quarterback, you know, that just kind of defeats the purpose of just looking at the whole team in general, because Trey Benson's a great running back. Their defense is solid. They have one of the best receivers in the country who gets overlooked because of what Malik Neighbors has done this year is unreal. What Marvin Harrison does. Jr. Yeah. And Keon Coleman's one of the best, 50-50 balls receivers in the league, in the country.
Might be the best. Yeah.
Yeah. And he'll do it on Sundays in, next year in 2 years. So I just think, we're overlooking everything that's like an overall team. If we're just looking at the offense only, put LSU in there. They're the best team in the country in offense. And if you're just looking at one person, I know it's a quarterback's the most important person on the team, in quotation. That's usually what's been said for years. But if you're looking like, let's just say you have a team that has when Alabama had Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry got hurt before a playoff game, would you take them out?
No, because they're Alabama.
Exactly. So what's
like but that's what I'm saying is that the problem is in all that, like it sounds like I'm agreeing with Will in the sense Will just really, really hates Alabama. And I get that. But we also are on the same path of Alabama. Part of the reason Alabama's in here because it's a better matchup. They wanted the 4 best teams. And they viewed Alabama as a better team constructed And look, a more exciting game, a more exciting potential outcome. Like, who's not going to want to watch Jalen Milroe try to face, that defense? Nobody wants to watch Tate Rodemaker face Michigan's defense. Several people might in Tallahassee. But, like, Pete, that's what people that is what the TV people wanted to see. Jalen Milroe is probably the hottest player in the country. Will, you said it last night. A legitimate shot to be the fourth guy in New York this upcoming weekend. That's what they want, man. That's what they want to see. And so it's not about – that's the thing. We got to get out of our minds this is really a playoff. It's not really a playoff. It's let's just play the regular season, and it's kind of like this round-robin play. Let's all just play, and then whoever we feel like the four best teams are, that's who we're going to throw in.
It's all subjective.
Conference championship or not.
Yeah, it's all subjective. That's why, I've had a lot of conversations today I work with a lot of Georgia and Alabama fans, and, I keep coming back to – sure, the BCS was flawed and it caught a lot of flack, but I think it was the best system of picking the two best teams to determine a national championship, because not only did they take the polls, they factored in that AP poll and coaches poll, the eye test, the subjective, whatever, but they also added in the computer, the stats, and the computer spit out a ranking. And almost every year they got it right. Obviously, the year I think most people think they got it wrong was 2004 with Auburn, but the computer, if I remember right, I didn't look it up, probably should have. Pretty sure the computer had Auburn number 2, but the rankings had Auburn 4 or 5 because Auburn didn't play great in the Iron Bowl, and it dropped them down, and they played a tough Tennessee team in the SEC championship. But my point is it combined the human element.
They had Auburn number 3 by like 100/10 of a point. But anyways, keep going.
The point I'm making was they had the human element, how subjective it was, and they also had the computer running all the analytics, knowing all the stats, and it would spit out a poll, and they would take the average of the two. So that way, I think it left less doubt, and all the playoff does is leave a ton of doubt.
Let's get to a couple comments here because we got some great comments, first-time commenters. Make sure you like the video if you're watching and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're on Facebook, make sure to like and share this video as well. Todd Bailey says here, it's a beauty pageant. Yeah, and Florida State, due to the not having a starting-level quarterback in the eyes of the committee, what was not the pretty girl at the dance. We'll just call it that. They weren't that. That's what they said. I want to get to this. Let's go back to Todd's here. A real long one from Todd. Had the committee gone with number 1, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas, in my opinion, nobody would have gotten screwed, because you would have had 3 undefeated conference champions, and Texas being a conference champion with 1 loss, who beat the other 1-loss conference champion, Alabama. So who would get screwed in that situation? Nobody. This is the problem. And Todd, love you to death. Todd's a Florida State fan. I know Todd. So Todd doesn't feel like anybody gets screwed over in the situation. Who feels like they get screwed over in the situation? Alabama fans. That's who they feel. And the problem is not a lot of people like Alabama. So that's the issue with all of this, is it's subjective, and it is what it is. I will say this as we kind of transition here and we just take a look at the overall rankings. Well, let's do this real quick. Dark horse national champion pick. We've had good conversation, good Discord about this. Guys, I'm
not sure there's dark horses at this point.
Not those, but who's? I guess Michigan would be your odds-on favorite to win it. I don't know what the Vegas are.
I don't know what they are.
It's I think Washington was plus 700. Obviously Michigan was like plus 300. I think was the lowest it went. Bama was plus 450. Texas plus 500. I think. If I'm correct on that. I could be wrong on that.
I just pulled it up on FanDuel. Michigan is the favorite at plus 170. Alabama second at plus 200. Texas third at plus 250, and Washington plus 750, the big long shot.
Well, look.
That's from FanDuel.
I'll start with this.
Not a sponsor. Hashtag not a sponsor.
Hashtag not an ad. I'll say this about my candidate right now, and one I just have a sneaky feeling.
Did we lose Bryce?
I don't. Nope.
Your mic's off.
Bryce's computer did this. I think it did the other night, didn't it?
Can y'all not hear me?
Oh gosh.
Can now, but it's not coming through your mic. I think it's coming through your AirPods.
You're back.
Yeah, Bryce's computer likes to decide to disconnect and reconnect whenever it wants to.
I mean, I guess the dark horse though, Will, is just Washington.
Who's your pick?
I mean, the dark horse is Washington, obviously, but
gotta be.
But I mean, I'll say this: it's not the favorite pick, but it's probably the second best pick. I'm gonna go Texas. I like where Texas is at right now. Quinn Ewers is looking great. Obviously, they lost their running back this year, which is awful. But they have two of the fastest receivers in college football. I think they can do a lot of damage against these defenses. I mean, Michigan's defense is great. Great pass rush. Secondary's taking a little hit this year, but after watching what they did against Iowa just didn't do anything against them offensively. She could not even do anything.
I mean,
but also, I know I'm saying like Iowa probably could have done more if they just wanted to do more. They just didn't. The first like two plays were both or rollouts. I mean, what do you expect? Nothing's going to happen in this situation. So
yeah,
I got Texas. I think Texas is a good team overall. Obviously, I think they've gotten better since that loss to Oklahoma, since that close one to Houston when Quinn Ewers got hurt. They've just gotten better, and they looked great on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Texas as my pick, and this has a lot to do with how it's seeded. And obviously, it looks to me that they want an Alabama-Texas rematch, and that's why they seeded it that way. Look, I think Michigan is not a good matchup for Alabama. No. I just don't think Michigan can score with Alabama. I mean, we've seen Alabama all year. They hit the big chunk plays. I think they can do that against that Michigan secondary. And they'll find ways to run the ball with Jalen Milroe. They've done it in every game. Tommy Reese, I mean, everybody was writing him off at the beginning of the year too. But, he's got to be up there for your Broyles Award pick.
He's figured it out. He's figured out how to work with that quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt. Texas, Washington, I think that's going to be a shootout. But, I think Texas are the more complete team. No, I don't think their defense gets enough love. I mean, that Texas defense is really, really good. Front to back. They've got a great defensive front. They stop the run. That's where it starts. They're really good up front. And, I think offensively, they've got a lot of weapons. You said it. They're down their starting running back, but they've got a stable of backs that are good. And they've got one of, I would say, the top three wide receiver room in the country up there with Ohio State and Washington, who they're going to get in the first round. They're really good. Texas just really, really dangerous. And I think that they're the most complete team in the playoff.
Ralph,
welcome back.
Did you already go?
Yeah, so we both agree on Texas, I think. Will, just to throw it in there, I think his name's CJ Baxter is the backup. He's the true backup for Texas. He's a true freshman.
He played against Oklahoma State, right?
Yeah, but he's played and he's had almost as nearly as many attempts as Jonathan Brooks has this year. He's not really the ideal starting running back for your team, but he is a very big guy. He's 6'1", 220.
He's a load, man. He had a really, really good game against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think he'll do just fine. I think they'll run the ball just fine with him. And they're going to use Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. It's as much as they need to. If they need to run with them, they can do that. They're stupid fast, man. It's crazy.
They're just so dangerous. I think they're the most complete team.
We're a month and a half out or whatever we are from these games, I guess. A month. I'm sorry. About a month away. A little under a month away. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you my picks. It's going to be Texas, Alabama for the national title because I think we're going to get a rematch. And I don't really care. This is just where I'm going to sit with this. I think Texas is really, really good. And I think Texas is going to beat Washington. That's just really not really looking into it. I'm just going to tell you this because I picked them last week to win the SEC championship game. We can't sit here, even now that this is the dust is settled on this, Alabama has a legitimate shot to win this thing. Because, and I know that like some people might think they're flawed. I think they're a flawed team. But they're just finding ways, and until somebody finds a way to stop Jalen Milroe, like we thought, and Georgia's defense played really well in the game. You allowed 27 points, Tyler. I mean, that's fine. That's good. I don't know, man. I think Alabama, it almost feels like a storybook, kind of thing where like Nick Saban goes from literally being, I mean, like, let's be honest.
Hero.
Don't say that.
But this is what I'm saying here. It almost feels like this is about a story that's about to be written about Nick Saban in Alabama. You were one play away from being in the Citrus Bowl, and now you are
They still would have
potentially.
put him in. They still would have put him in 2 losses.
No, they wouldn't have put him in.
No, they wouldn't have.
No, but it feels like that. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you. So I got Bama as my kind of dark horse, I guess you could say in this. I don't know if it's really a dark horse.
They're
Altogether, though. Look, Alabama,
number 2
Texas.
in the
That's my
odds.
national championship. That's my national championship look.
Yeah, here's the thing about these bowl games, and especially these playoff games. You're giving teams a month to prepare. You're giving elite coaches a month to prepare. So that's really, to me, it's more about the coaches and the preparation than the players, because we know what the players can do. We've seen them play 13 games. We know what the players can do. We know what they're capable of doing. It's a lot on the coaches. And, I think you've seen it every year of the playoff. The elite coaches are the ones that win. They at least play in that title game, or they lift the trophy. And that's, you look at the semifinal matchups, I give Alabama that edge, Nick Saban over Jim Harbaugh, and I give Steve Sarkisian the edge over Kalen DeBoer. And I mean, Sarkisian is rocketing his way up. I mean, he's already well respected for what he's done at Texas, but I'm telling you, he's if you want to tier list him, he's in that S tier of coaches, I think.
You talk about a complete team, and I think I hopped back in when you guys were mentioning this. Texas might be the most complete team in the playoff that we're just not talking about. Hey, and that national title game's in Houston, so a de facto potential home game there for the Longhorns. And they get to play their playoff game in New Orleans. So, I mean, that's big.
Hey, good for Texas fans. We've been saying for 15 years, asking if Texas is back, and then they get 2 almost home games in the playoff. Good for them.
Well, I was told that I made my decision today based off the fact that I'm employed by LSU, which I am still looking for my stub, my pay stub that says Louisiana State University, and the benefits that would probably come working for the state. That would probably be pretty nice as well. I haven't found that yet. So yeah, that's kind of sense. Saw earlier comment. I wanted to get this over to you guys about strength of schedule. And this is one of those things because
it doesn't matter.
Well, here it is. Florida State had the 55th ranked strength of schedule in the country.
And another reason, I'm just gonna throw it not this game, but the reason that SMU's not playing in New Year's Six Bowl.
And we're gonna get to that. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah. That's where we're going with this right now. Yeah.
SMU had the 30th, maybe. I could be wrong with that. I don't know what exact ranking they were, but Liberty is at 133 in strength of schedule, which is out of
133,
and they are playing in the New Year's Six Bowl because they went 13-0 in the Conference USA, which is the weakest conference in college football,
borderline FCS conference, borderline because it's literally where the FCS schools.
New Mexico State, props to them, great year, had a huge upset win against.
Credit to them. We know it's not good. It's not good.
I know. I'm saying that the 2 teams that did something this year at that conference, Jacksonville State's first year bowl game. Congratulations, but the overall conference, in general, is terrible. To go 13-0 and win your conference by 2 touchdowns is a joke, and then get to play in New Year's Six Bowl. You're going to get dusted by Oregon. They're going to put 60 on them in a bowl game, and then the committee thinks that's exciting. I'm not saying SMU would do much better. I mean, SMU could probably put up a better fight, though. Rhett Lashley's a great coach. I think what he's done at SMU this year is incredible without their starting quarterback last week, and especially this weekend against Tulane. But going forward, if we're going to talk strength of schedule, why is Liberty playing in this?
Well, let's even talk about this. If you're going to value undefeated record for Liberty, why didn't you value that in the playoff?
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
So that's another issue with this.
That's why I said it doesn't matter. Strength schedule does not matter.
No, record doesn't matter. That's what you're telling people. Your record doesn't matter. Strength of schedule does matter because Alabama's is more. That's how they got in.
Boom. There it is. We don't say anymore.
No. FSU is being punished for not having their starting quarterback playing. Is it right? No. It's not right, but we got to get right what we're talking about here. No one's saying, well, Florida State, you went undefeated, and now that's why you're not in. No, that's not what anyone's saying. It's because the best brand, the best product. Once people start to understand that your on-the-field results really don't carry a ton of weight when you're going up against the SEC and Big Ten, that's when you're going to start to kind of figure out how this whole thing works. But bowl matchup reactions, guys. Obviously, we saw, kind of surprising to me, actually, Oklahoma left out, which was very interesting. I felt like Oklahoma would have had a little bit more weight, since the fact they beat the number 3 seed in the playoff. But they did have the 2 losses, and I understand that.
Well,
but
if we're having a 12-team playoff, they would be left out also of the playoff because of
which is nuts.
Which is a group of 5 bid. This is the whole thing.
Yes.
We're going to have this argument next year about why this team's not 12 and why this team's not getting in the top 12 because they're better than a group of 5 top team. We're going to have the same conversation next year.
Yeah, I had, we had someone, Ralph, the person we were debating with on Facebook. We had the person on Facebook, and I want to get to a comment. I got the comments flowing over here on my side monitor that I need to get to. That mentioned, well, next year this is going to be fixed. No, it's not. It's not going to be fixed. And I talked about this. I've talked about this. We're going to be arguing about 9-3 LSU and a 10-2 Kansas State. That's what you're going to be arguing about. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a 10-2 Kansas State not get in because 9-3 LSU is valued more because the 3 losses are going to be to like Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss.
Why are you talking about your job like that, dude?
Homer
Homer praising his own job. Look at the helmet behind him, though.
I can't find it. Ralph, go full screen.
Gotcha. It's under the Valdosta State helmet.
I don't know where
it's under the Valdosta State helmet. It's under there.
I don't know where the pay stub is.
Oh man.
Why am I not seeing LSU's bowl game?
All right, let's get a couple of comments here.
I gotta go to Google because ESPN is trash.
We got Lair Bear here who says the committee didn't respect Bama all year by placing them 8th. That's incorrect. At one point, you place Ohio State ahead of Georgia because of their strength of schedule. The committee, we talked about this on the show. The committee was keeping Alabama in the fold. And guys, we mentioned that in one of the playoff rankings. They're just going to keep on the outside. That's what they're going to do. All of a sudden, they jump 4 teams because they beat a Georgia team that hasn't looked good this year. They're number 1 team in the country. That's what the committee said. That's not what I said. The committee said they were the number 1 team in the country. This is where the BCS is easier. Hey, Mr. Singh, you just became Will Mannis's favorite fan. Daniel Thurman says, hey, Bryce, you need to quit parroting that people need to leave the ACC and that it's destitute. Tech is in the ACC. I am actually familiar with that fact. Unsubscribed. This is what I'll say to that. I'm telling you, if I'm Florida State, I am trying to leave the ACC. That's what I'm telling you. Like, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt in that conference. You're not going to. They don't.
The ACC.
Let me say this real quick. They do not. Look, I covered the daggum conference for 4 years. They don't care if you beat Virginia 45-7.
No.
You know what they do care about and they value more? If you beat Arkansas by 3 points. That is what they care about, and that's what they just showed you. It's not parroting, and we're not downplaying. So many people are way too sensitive. They can't get out of their own way in understanding how this stuff works. That's what they showed you. That's not me saying that. That is what they showed you. They do not care if you beat Virginia Tech, Virginia, Syracuse by however many points. Ralph, look up, what was the Florida State-Syracuse? I'm pretty sure they played. What was that score?
41-3.
You beat Syracuse 41-3, and they don't care. It's a lose-lose situation for a team like Florida State to play in the ACC.
Miami 27-20.
That's hands down.
Yeah. Also, the biggest problem with the ACC is they were part of that alliance that tried to stop the 12-team playoff, and that would have started this year. So, I mean,
they don't like you already. They don't like you.
I mean, we've got a title for that, but I don't think you want me to use that language on the show.
Yeah, we're not going to. We're doing good on viewership right now. I don't want to get demonetized off this.
That's female dog made.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
by wanting that because they wanted to just try to keep Clemson in, and then Clemson let them down.
Yeah.
Also, follow the money. Like Bryce, you've said it 3 times tonight already. You're playing your games on the CW. That you cannot be taken seriously if
Will,
your games
tell me
are on the
what
CW.
channel? What channel was that 4, 5, 6 hour special on? Ralph, no need for a full clip. I've already tried to find the pay stub. It's not here.
Your
Ralph,
arms were reaching out. You had to get all the
with arms wide open.
Exactly.
Will, tell me, what channel was it on?
ESPN.
What channel was Georgia Tech against Duke on? The basketball game with the number 7 ranked team in the country. The CW.
Hey, look, huge win for Georgia Tech.
The Sun Belt Championship game was on ESPN, by the way.
Guys, the Sun Belt, the American, have better TV rights deals than the ACC. They do, and the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 just went defunct. The Pac-12 couldn't even get a media rights deal. Look, folks, we are not – I'm not trying to sit here and say and bag on the ACC. It would not help me to do that with the viewership that we have. It's asinine. It's like people saying, I hate Georgia Tech. That's why we do a show like 75 million shows a year on it for a fan base that's won 16 games in 5 years, it feels like. This is what I want to say.
It's the
fact of the matter.
Bryce, you're not pushing for Georgia Tech to leave the ACC. You're talking about Clemson.
Georgia Tech would not win in the SEC or Big Ten. Keep going.
You're talking about Clemson and Florida State, who have been at the top of the sport.
Because North Carolina has a lot of money.
Possibly North Carolina.
Miami too.
You're talking about programs.
They can't kneel.
They need to put the stadium on campus. You're talking about programs that have the money, have the backing, have
value,
the success, have the brand value. Georgia Tech, historically, really, really good program. Not there, have not been there in a decade. So they shouldn't look to leave. They would be downgrading if they left.
You know what you'd be? Because you're going to turn out to be like Illinois in the Big Ten, where you're going to win 4 games. Yeah, you get a bigger payout, but you're going to win 4 games. We're talking about teams that are actually the big boys of college football that or either have the potential to be. That is what they have. I don't want to get too far off kilter here because that's a whole nother episode for a whole other day that we're going to dive into this off season. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for that. I mean, look, we've talked about playoff. Will, you got something else you want to mention here?
We want to talk about some bowl matchups.
Yeah, let's go bowl matchups to watch.
Are we wanting New Year's 6 or are we going to look at everything?
How
about the Alamo Bowl, Arizona, Oklahoma?
I thought it was a
good for the Alamo Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
a fun one.
That's a New Year's 6 matchup.
The one that everyone cares about the most from our fanship, the Gasparilla Bowl, Georgia Tech and UCF.
Not a bad one.
I saw a comment about that.
Yeah.
You know my opinion.
The Sickos Committee one, James Madison at Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl. That's going to be
that Sickos Committee.
I'm just joking. Because everyone loves Air Force. Just because.
The Sickos Committee game's taking place in Shreveport. 9:15 p.m. kick between Texas Tech and Cal. Not a fan of those teams is going to be in sight for that game.
No, thank you. Ole Miss and Penn State noon kick.
Are we going to that?
Which
I don't
one?
know. I'm planning on it.
All right, well, count me in.
Auburn, Maryland, to the Music City Bowl. That's all. That's at 2:00. So I can't make both, which was what I was hoping to be able to do. Let me talk about this one a little bit. I think this is an awful matchup for Auburn. I'm gonna have to watch Auburn lose another bowl game. I'm afraid.
But it's Auburn in Nashville though. They play very well there.
They have a big donor base there. Big fan.
Mantled Purdue that one year and then killed a kid.
What?
You don't remember
what are you talking about?
You don't remember the Purdue fan who had cancer?
Oh my God.
We were having a good show.
Yeah.
I still have no clue what you're talking about, but we'll keep rolling.
I know what he's talking about. I think this is just a really bad matchup for Auburn. Maryland can score.
It's not terrible.
Taulia is a really good quarterback.
You're the leading passer in Maryland history.
I would think so. Didn't Boomer Esiason was a Maryland Terrapin, wasn't he?
This is also a Maryland team that lost 4 straight to Ohio State, Illinois, Northwestern, and Penn State. I mean,
they put up points, and Auburn's problem is scoring points. So that's what I'm worried about.
Are you excited to watch the Citrus Bowl? Iowa against Tennessee.
No.
Oh, good God.
No, not even a little bit.
I think Iowa's going to win.
I don't.
Ooh.
I will tell you this. I changed my plans really quickly when I learned LSU's bowl opponent. I am definitely not going to go to Tampa now. LSU, Wisconsin.
Can we talk about the lowest attended bowl game? You don't want to
go back to Tampa.
The lowest attended bowl game will be the Quick Lane Bowl between Bowling Green at Minnesota and Ford Field.
Actually, probably not.
I don't know.
Actually, probably not.
Wyoming versus Toledo in the Arizona Bowl?
No. I'm going to say the least attended bowl game will be the Hawaii Bowl. Hawaii Bowl. Coastal Carolina and San Jose State.
Who's playing in the Bahamas Bowl?
The Bahamas Bowl's in Charlotte this year. Seriously, dead serious.
How's that work?
Why?
It's they renamed it. Something happened down there. It's not playing down there anymore. I want to get to this.
We can talk about the who play?
Well,
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden probably not.
Oh.
I wouldn't expect it. I want to ask all this. When you look at these bowl games, like, do y'all like bowl games?
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Now, are you about to ask if, like, do you like when players opt out?
No, because I don't want to have that conversation with the amount of people that we're going to have in the comments just screaming.
Yeah, I love bowl games, man. There's you get some very random matchups that you would never see, and it causes and sometimes in the future it brings a kind of a rivalry between those two teams because they don't get matched up every year. But in the near future, like, okay, maybe we'll play them again. Like, I think when Auburn played Oregon in that 2010 national championship game, it led to them playing in 2019 in the beginning of the season. So it
creates storylines. You're right in that fact. And I'll say this, like, LSU fans were excited to play Notre Dame because, one, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame had beaten them the last two times they had played. And now it's a good chance to create a storyline. What I'm going to tell you right now is that I don't know if I am I don't know if I'm the minority here. Like, I'm not really excited to watch Florida State play Georgia. Because I kind of think someone got on to me earlier because apparently the opening spread's like 14 points, which I think is wild. Because I don't think Georgia's going to be up for this game. Like, I don't think they will be. And I think you're going to have some opt-outs. I think Florida State is going to be playing. Like, I could see Jared Verse and them playing in this game because they're so ticked off. And they want to make a statement. And they want to skull drag Georgia. Potentially. Maybe not.
I see the opposite. I think there'll be a lot of opt-outs on both sides because both those teams were looking at the playoff. And, the Orange Bowl is a big bowl, traditional bowl. It's a really good feather in the cap for both programs. But, the players that obviously are going to be playing in the NFL, I don't think they really have any interest. Like, I don't expect Brock Bowers to play in this game.
No. I mean, Brock Bowers won't play.
Jordan Travis obviously won't play. Keon Coleman, I really don't expect him to play.
I mean,
Lad McConkey probably won't play.
Probably not.
I mean,
does he have an NFL future? I'm not sure.
Apparently, he almost went last year. That was the whole big thing. He almost went to the draft. I'm going to get this. Kevin Rainwater says he loves bowls. Why am I so jaded? I don't even think I just asked a question. Like, do you guys like bowl games? I do. I like bowl games, but I think that they've lost their luster. Like, they're not the bowl games. You don't have the Capital One Bowl Week jingle, and you don't look forward to it as much because it's just kind of like the bigger games. You have a ton of opt-outs, and you have a ton of, like, unless you have a vested interest in watching your favorite team, watching for the future, then it's not as exciting.
I'm sorry. I just realized that South Alabama is playing Eastern Michigan in the 68 Ventures Bowl, which is at Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile. That is South Alabama's home stadium.
Memphis is playing in their home stadium, the Liberty Bowl.
This is like when Lane Kiffin was at FAU and they played in the Boca Raton Bowl in the first year of his coaching. Because
literally,
come on, man.
Yeah,
come on.
That right there annoys me because why? I mean,
well, it annoys you because you hate South Alabama first.
No, I'm saying, but like, I understand. Though. But like,
it's dumb.
That's
lame. It's more of it sucks for the players because some of these guys get to go play somewhere different You know, and sometimes it sucks. Like no one wants to see like Georgia Tech go play in Boston or in New York. Or in the
Don't say that because some people did.
Well, I know they probably wanted to go travel up there and see the North,
which would be cool. Which would be cool, but
it's a cool atmosphere. It's a cool like setup for the game. But you know, but like if you're like South Alabama or Memphis this year, you don't want to play at home in a bowl game. That's boring.
I mean, it's like Auburn playing in the Birmingham Bowl 2 years ago. It's like Troy playing in the Birmingham Bowl now. I mean, it's just right up the road. I mean, it's great for fans because more fans can go. It's a local game, but for the players, it really stinks because a lot of players love going to bowl games. These games mean a lot to players and to recruits just to go somewhere else, and you get all the gifts and just to travel and all that,
especially
and the experience.
It's
a big deal. That's why winning 6 games is a big deal, and I've said it all year that there's no excuse for a Power 5 program to not make a bowl game. None. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And you see it in these games, even between these 6-6 teams, like Cal and Texas Tech. Whoever wins that Independence Bowl, they're going to be fired up because they love it.
My 3 years in Troy, they went to the Dollar General Bowl in Mobile, the New Orleans Bowl in New Orleans, obviously, and then back to the Dollar General Bowl the next year in Mobile. Now, it's great for Troy fans because it's a 3-hour drive and a 7-hour drive in New Orleans, so they can party all weekend. But I mean, I know it's funny, but it's true though.
No, I'm laughing at Bryce's face. Bryce is like, "What are y'all are?"
Because I mean, I know what you're saying. Never mind. Keep going.
Troy,
no, go ahead.
Troy's just unfortunate because they're in the Sun Belt, and the Sun Belt gets
I'm
really
not mad at them
crappy.
They're an 11-2 team that's getting shafted. That's what's the problem.
They get really crap. They have really crappy bowl ties, and they can't afford that.
Well, I mean, I'm not even mad they're playing in
they can't
in
control
the Birmingham Bowl. I mean, what else would you want them to play in? I mean, they played last year in the in the Gasparilla Bowl or Cure Bowl last year. I mean, it was a fun game to play UTSA, the top 2 G5 schools. That was not Tulane.
Yeah,
it was a fun matchup, and it was a very high-powered offense against a legit, very good defense. And Troy won, I think, I got an 18-12. I mean, it's just one of those weird games. And then they're playing Duke. It's not the full Duke team because Riley Leonard won't play, but it's a still very good Duke defense. So, I mean, I know as a Troy fan, it's not the greatest location, but for a fan that's watched this team and watched, last night, fans not go to the game because Alabama was playing. You're playing in Birmingham. That's probably about 75% of the fan base lives there. So,
another local one, UNC in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's the second time they played in Charlotte this year.
God, that's got to be annoying.
That's
actually a rule too. They will not be able to play there next year. That's one of the biggest reasons why the Citrus Bowl could not take LSU. They played in the Citrus Bowl last year, and then they opened up the season. So that is interesting. The Florida Citrus, which manages all of those, that's their rule. I don't know why they don't have though.
Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl. Where they play the Texas Bowl?
We don't ever stars comments. Put them up there. Also, if FSU beats Georgia, the committee wouldn't lose no sleep, nor should they, because that should have absolutely zero bearing on what happened. It's not a Georgia was never going to be in this, guys. Like Georgia had no right to be in the playoff. They lost. It is what it is. Are they one of the 4 best teams? Maybe.
Yes.
Well, that's the problem. Subjective.
That's the problem. What have you done for me lately? Not the full body of work.
I'm sorry, I did not know that the Holiday Bowl between Louisville and USC is played at Petco Park.
It's gonna be awful.
That sounds like worst
location. Used to be played at the Q in San Diego,
Qualcomm Stadium.
Right.
All right, we got about a minute and a half here before we're going to roll out.
One more matchup. I don't know if Will said
Bryce has had enough.
Did you want to say A&M versus Oklahoma State?
Yeah, in the Texas Bowl.
Although Oklahoma State's quarterback's terrible, but yes, I agree.
I
think Tulane's
Gordon won't play.
I'm interested to see how Tulane plays against Virginia Tech with Willie Fritz going. Hey, transfer portal opens up tomorrow. It's going to bring in a whole new wave of stuff. We're going to be live once again tomorrow, 7:30, talking Georgia Tech side of things, and then kind of roll throughout the week, but stay tuned the best way you can. If you're on Facebook, make sure that you are liking this video. Make sure you're sharing it with your friends and you're liking the page and following it. If you're on YouTube, which is where we would love for you to kind of matriculate, make sure that you are subscribing to the channel, setting up notifications for the latest content. Great viewership tonight, staying consistent here. And man, it has me excited. I think it has both of these guys excited too, to kind of see what we can do here in the month of December and continuing to move forward. Should be a lot of fun. Ralph Leary, Will Mannis. My name is Bryce Kuhn. College Football Playoff reactions. It's nuts. There's chaos. Can't tell you it's going to be any better next year. We'll see you in the Carter booth next time.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The crowded booth with Bryce Kuhn.